Well, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Investigators in Cars, Drinking Coffee.
Yes, good morning.
I'm your host, Mark Murnan, my co-host.
No labels.
No labels. Wendy Straw Murnan. Licensed private investigators, owners of Complete Legal Investigations here in West Palm Beach, Florida. I like that logo. Also want to remind you, listen, if you have not become a subscriber and yet you would like to get some of these cool Investigators in Cars coffee coasters here, make sure you get these right away. All you have to do is sign up, send me, email us your contact information, and we will drop these in the mail to you. You don't want to miss these. We spill coffee over these all of the time. But anyway, so today we're here talking about the subject of cohabitation.
Cohabitation.
So you're not cohabitating, you're cohabiting.
Cohabiting, okay.
And what is cohabiting?
Cohabiting is when two people live together and they're having an intimate relationship.
Yes, without
marriage.
Without being married.
A marriage license.
They kind of skip the marriage part. They've gone right into the living together part, which is very, it's very common.
Yes.
But we work on those in a couple of different types of cases, don't we?
We do.
Okay, and so one of them would be
child custody cases could be one of them.
Could be one of them.
Or divorce cases if there's alimony involved.
Yeah.
I don't think it affects child support.
It doesn't necessarily support, but it does.
But the custody portion of it.
Custody portion of it, specifically alimony or the award of spousal support, I think would be the area where we most often get contacted. And that's because in a divorce case, when there is a financial award to a former spouse who is not employed at the time, or for some reason there's a disparity in incomes, one spouse will then pay support to the other spouse.
Right, a court orders it.
A court orders it.
Settlement agreement.
Settlement agreement to which they all signed off on. And that's all well and good until the spouse who is receiving the support is now suspected of being involved in a cohabitating relationship.
Right. And so the other spouse, the ex-spouse, is seeking to...
The one who's paying the money...
is seeking to not pay it anymore.
Either not pay it anymore or get a reduction in it.
Yes.
So in other words, we're trying to establish that the former spouse who is receiving the support is now living with somebody and no longer needs as much support as the court initially awarded.
Exactly.
Does that sound about right? A little complex, but we'll give a couple of definitions. So how do we go about proving that? In other words, how does a former spouse get evidence that his or her former spouse, that one spouse, the payer, is now... That's confusing, isn't it?
Yes.
How do we establish that the payee is...
recipient of the support.
The recipient of the support, whatever that is. One's getting the money, one's not getting the money. The one who's paying the money wants to find out if he or she doesn't have to pay as much.
Exactly.
So how do we go about establishing that?
Well, I think the number one way we've done it, there's a lot of ways, is that good old surveillance.
Yeah.
We try to find out.
Videotape. The video doesn't lie. You got to be careful here because video can be edited.
Yes.
But documentary evidence, such as video showing that the person receiving the monies, male or female, now has someone living with them and is contributing to the household. I think that's the principal way to do that.
So some cases we've had, it's important at night that we can prove that they're spending the entire night there. Yeah,
that the party who's now living with the former spouse is actually residing at the residence. The vehicle is parked there on a consistent basis.
Yes.
And these are something that take time, cases that take time, isn't it? Yeah, you don't just pull into a car and, I see the car there, they're living together.
Right.
You have
they could just be visitors.
Could just be visitors, even if it's a couple nights. You have to establish over several weeks and sometimes even months that this is a regular, ongoing relationship. But there are other ways besides surveillance that we support that, aren't there?
Yes, what would that be?
Well, number one is we try to find out if there's any vehicles registered.
Oh.
If the new partner, they're starting to co-own things here. Is there a deed on the house, a mortgage? Is the new live-in partner, does he or she have his vehicle registered there?
Yeah.
That's a big one. Are there utilities in the new partner's name that are registered to the house over there? So that's a gathering of public records and proprietary database information as well.
That's how we build the case.
That's how we build it. But these things have to be built. They're not just, it's not just like finding somebody there and presupposing that they live there.
Right. And we want to be very careful and not make the wrong assumptions.
Make the wrong assumptions, Sarah. And again, people are allowed to visit. You can have company over. There's no law against having someone spend the night with you. You can have an intimate relationship with somebody. However, if you are now cohabiting with that person, and there is spousal support being paid by someone else, you may be putting that at risk. And if you are the one paying, you definitely want to find out if this new partner is supporting your former spouse.
Yes. And then if there's minor children in the home, there are people concerned about what kind of person is living with those minor children. And then we do a lot of background research and possibly some surveillance.
Criminal history, the same type of thing, establishing that they're actually living in the house.
Yeah.
We've had
Who's with these minor children?
Who is with them? We've had situations where
grandparents,
people accused of sexual offenses have been residing with the former spouse with the minor children in the home. And that's always a volatile mix, so we're very careful about that. Now, let's talk about the cost, because surveillance is the most expensive thing on the menu, isn't it?
It is.
It is.
It's very timely.
So we really try to talk to people about the return on the ROI, the return on investigation. You've probably heard the term ROI, return on investment.
Right.
We're going to talk about your return on investigation, because if you can get your support reduced by $1,000 a month, and sometimes the awards are several $1,000s a month.
Easily.
You can reduce by $1,000 a month, and you have a $10,000 investigation. You've recouped all your money in 10 months, and that is literally years of savings that you have spared yourself, that you've garnered because you've been able to reduce that support.
Very true.
They don't all cost that much, but sometimes the cost can be a factor. But you got to remember that you're supposed to be getting something out of your investigation.
That's right. That's our goal.
That's our goal. So anyway, if you like what you see here, go down and click the subscribe button underneath. Remember, if you're a new subscriber, we're going to send you a couple of cool coasters right here. Investigators in Cars Drinking Coffee. We'll send you a matched pair, just kind of like we are a matched pair.
Okay.
And we'll see you the next time here on Investigators in Cars Drinking Coffee. Have a great afternoon.
Bye-bye.